Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's Eric again. I'm back with the third episode of the Figma intro tutorials series that I've started. If you want to check out what we did here before with circles, where I talk about all the primitives and the basic interactions in Figma, check out my other two videos. The link will be in the description of this video. Today I want to focus on a different topic, which is one of the most utilized features of Figma, being called the components, reusable components. What do I mean by that? What I'm talking about here is, let me start and continue with my circle example. I'm just gonna, as I showed you before, click into one of the item you want on the screen, in this case the blue circle, while holding option on Mac and dragging, or you can make a duplicate copy, right? You can also accomplish something similar by, again, clicking on the item you want to copy. Let me zoom in a little bit. You press Command D or Control D if you're in Windows, and you make an exact copy. Obviously, because you haven't moved it, it's going to copy it just right above it. But let's say I happen to hit Command D and make a duplicate, and I click Command D. Now it's going to copy that behavior and assume that I also want to keep it, right? Notice how it's keeping the same distance between the first one and each copy, each iteration. The system, Figma, is going to assume that I want that. So I'm going to backtrack, click Command Z, everything you want to undo. That's real quick. But that's not what we're going to learn here today. Just wanted to kind of remind you of how you do duplications, cloning of items versus undoing actions. Now, we have a blue circle now, and let's say we started designing really complex systems and UIs across different screens. In this case, let's say I wanted to create sort of like a phone, right? Imagine I'm making like a really low fidelity phone. I'm going to change the radius, and you see this like four little circles inside a rectangle. I'm gonna do that once again. So if you notice in the top navigation bar, on where the square icon is, there's a drop down, shape tools. All I'm doing is hovering over the rectangle item, which is the first one, click and drag it on the screen. Let me see if that works. That didn't work. Okay, so while the system knows I'm trying to accomplish adding a rectangle, all I gotta do is on the screen, if you notice my mouse pointer changed to a plus icon, I just click anywhere and start creating a shape, right? It's going to be a four-sided shape, so it could be square, rectangle, whatever. You can adjust that. And also pay attention to the right side column, the W and the H, the weight and the height. They're changing accordingly to my interactions, right? My coordinates. So let's leave that alone for now. What I was trying to get at is, if you look at all those five circles around each corner, that's the radius. By default, because we created a square, it's going to be 0, right? But let's say I wanted to change it, round it up a little bit to 40, just using an arbitrary number here. In UIs I work on, this is usually smaller, like around a 4 or 8, depends on the size of the UI. But let me make this one smaller so you can see. So you can also go back to in the same design panel, right? You can do this pressing number A, pressing number 10, and it'll accomplish the same, right? I'm just more used to you doing it on the spot like this. My eye is trained for this. And let's also change the color to something a little lighter, a little darker, but not too dark. This is fine. Now, what I'm trying to show you is, imagine that we're creating like a phone wireframe or screen, right? Let me make another, again, click on the rectangle, command, while holding command, and make a duplicate. This one I'm going to make it a little thinner, like a horizontal rectangle. And I'm going to change the color to gray. And I'm going to adjust the width, put it inside the phone, and I'm going to select both, go to the design panel, click in the middle where you set the line in the middle with the two alignment bars horizontally. Let's click on that one. Now I want to put the circle inside, and I'm going to show you why I'm working with this circle. Next, so I'm going to make it smaller first of all. As I show you, you click on item, hit command, and you just kind of resize, right? Let's say I started making a bunch of these, right? Bunch of these, and I want to, every time I want to change, let's say the color of the circle, I realize that I want to make purple circles instead of blues. I'm not, imagine going one by one across 100 of these, making a design change. And sure, you can, you can go back to the fill item, and even Figma right now, like you click select, and Figma should have a new feature where, like, a button here that automatically detects all of the same size, the same component, and it makes a bulk edit across the board. For some reason it's not working for me right now, but what I'm trying to show you is what we used to do before Figma introduced a new feature, right? I might talk about that one in a different video. Now, if you notice, right, like I said, if you start making a bunch of these and start copying, like, this is not scalable design. Now, what we want to do is, let's grab this circle first that we had originally, and how we can make it a master component, like I like to call it, master global component, if you will. You click on these 4 little diamonds that themselves for the diamond icon. This is called the component feature in Figma. So when I do this, this is what's going to happen. Let me click first. Number one, it's going to turn the previous item, if you remember it was outline blue, it's gonna make it into a global component. And by default, it will name it whatever it wants, but we can rename it master circle for this example. Now, notice every time you see something on Figma that has this little diamond indicator, that means this is the master component. And if you see, let's say if we do what I did before, command while the master circle is selected, I click on option and I start dragging, and I make, I don't know, I start making a bunch of these. And then if you recall from our previous lesson on auto layout, I select all, create all layout, and then make it all titty up a little bit really nicely. Now, I don't have to go one by one and click like to change the color of each one. That will take me forever, right? That's not scalable design. Now, this is what I was talking about earlier before I move. So if you notice right now, for some reason, because everything is in the same auto layout, the same parent frame, now Figma shows me that matching layers icon, right, which is the again bulk editing. So if I click there, for some, again, nothing happened, but this is the new feature they have going on. But what I'm going for is, remember, we just made a bunch of little copies of this master circle. Now, if I want this circle to now be yellow, notice how the change applies everywhere, right? I do it once and it applies globally. And this example is very primitive, just for simplicity purposes. I'm showing you a circle. But let's say we even started, we can go back to the original master component. We can make it smaller. We can make it bigger. We can, let's say, copy another circle inside of it and then start doing some really cool stuff, and I can do that again. And what I want you to pay attention is how the change keeps applying globally, right? So this is what master components is in Figma, and this is how people like me that are more seasoned veterans in the design field, we used to do this before Figma started adding AI and trying to do bulk edits. As you just saw now, the bulk edit didn't do anything, but it does work sometimes. I'm not going to be here bashing Figma. I use it on a weekly basis, but this is how we used to do it before. So now what I usually like to do is I like whatever master component that I know I'm gonna be reusing in a UI. I'm gonna give you another example. So let's let's imagine this is like an image section, like an image container, and I'm gonna do 2 of these, right? So one is gonna be the image, and I'm just gonna change the padding, the corner, sorry, to like 4. I'm gonna make this a little lighter, or actually darker, and then we can do some text. I'm gonna write down some text. This is the image title. I'm going to make that a little bolder. Usually like to do this because imagine this is from mobile. I know I'm not designing an actual to scale mobile wireframe, but let's just go with like 20 for now, right? We can put this inside this container, and I know what you're saying. Yeah, what about are you gonna use auto layout? Of course I will. I always do. And then let's do a second one of these. And as you notice, I've been just clicking option, dragging with my mouse and just making copies. This is the fastest way to do this. I'm gonna change this to 16 and make it regular. And we can do a whole chapter just on text. But I'm working on really simple shapes and component design elements. So now we're gonna do a couple of things to stylize this, right? First, I want to make sure that this label, the name of the image we're gonna see on the left, and the description of it are auto layout. And I'm just gonna name this, image title and desk description. And notice how it's also really important, it's really good practice for you to rename every auto layout you do, especially because if you recall in previous lessons, you can have a bunch of nesting, like parent, children, grandchildren auto layouts and groups, and it can get really messy if everything is just called like group or parent or auto layout. So you want to be really implicit, you want to be really intentional with your naming, right? So now I have an auto layout here, right? I'm gonna use it. And let's go ahead and change this to, I like to work with 16 space between objects. Now I'm going to select the text, which itself is an auto layout, plus the container or the image will be the placeholder, and do another auto layout for it. Now I have two. I'm going to make sure that they align top left or top center. Any of those really works, but I like to use the top left font because people read from left to right where I live. Now this is gonna be the image cont, and I'm shortening the words for simplicity purposes, plus title desk. Now we have two auto layouts, right? And we've gone over that. We've gone over like how to work with that. And so we're not gonna worry about that. And then now we wrap the whole thing once again into another auto layout. This one's gonna be called full cont wrapper with image, and you don't have to be this granular with naming conventions. This is just what works for me, and I have to work across so many different applications, and sometimes I use the same component, so I can just use like a very basic level component, and then I rename it whenever I make an instance of it. But you don't have to get this granular, right? If just naming this big container work for you, hey, more power for you. Plus disk type. Now, and there's a typo there, but typos are welcome. We're human. And I'm going to change the spacing a little bit more. Sorry, this designer in me is just, I can't leave this alone. If you're watching this, if you're a designer, you know the struggle. And one important, remember what I showed you before, when you're grouping things like a Russian doll, like things inside auto layouts, the inner one, you want to make sure that it fills the container. So it can fit to whatever the ground pairing is trying to do, right? And let's do this hug for both. Nice, like this. Now this one, and there's a reason why I'm doing this. I'm not just wasting your time here in this video. Now this whole thing, I'm going to make it into a component, right? You saw how it's much more complex than these 3 circles I did here. Now the first thing I'm going to do is make the text into a component. So while having the auto layout with the image, the title, and the description, let's make the description a little smaller actually, and let's make it also fill the container. This one's also going to fill the container, and then this one a little smaller. Now we're going to select this one and clicking on the diamond icon. I like to call it the diamond icon, and create component. Now this, if you notice on the layers panel, it went, I'm gonna backtrack a lot. So it went from being the 3 bars, so it's a simple auto layout, to a component. Now we're gonna take it out because we don't want it to be inside there. We want just the copy of it, right? So we're gonna be managing whatever instance of it. If it's 100 times where this is, like, we just have to make change me here. Right, that's what we're trying to accomplish. So because I already had it auto layout, I'm gonna just put it back into the auto layout that I had, and I'm gonna do the same thing for this. So I'm gonna make a copy outside. I'm gonna click on the create component. Remember, it's going from a rectangle, like a primitive design element, to a component. and it's going to, the purple always signifies that. Purple with diamond next to the title of the item is the actual parent, like master component. If it's just a regular purple outline, that means, hey, this is a copy of it, it's not the original one, right? And we'll talk about like what that means later on. You can also actually just do it now. So if I make two copies, and okay, yeah, each one is gonna be inheriting whatever I do to the parent, that's fine. But there will be points where you have to break the rule, like you have to break what you're doing because you need to customize it further and then make another master component. For example, this one, let's go and change it to red. And now I decided, you know what, this one, I'm going to also do something into it like this. But I don't want it to be part of, like, linked to the original one. I'm going to select all and then detach instance. And this basically moves it back to a regular, like, standalone component that has no relationship to the previous master. And then you can do the same thing. Now you can click create component, and then you say new master component. So this is like very scalable. It's a two-way decision when you're making a component. Don't ever feel like you're forced to keep going with the same one or start from scratch. But there will be a way. A reason, a moment when you need to undo the master component and do another one, and that's fine, right? That's still the whole point of the freedom of Figma. And I'm gonna remove this for now. So what I was going for is let's go back to the red container, image container, and we already have it as a master, right? So now I'm gonna make the copy of it, and actually I can also just drop the copy inside. You don't also have to, like, it also works. And last but not least, now notice how I have now one component, an instance of a master component, another instance of a master component. And then this is how I like to work because it keeps things organized. I could have just made the whole thing a component and work from there, sure, but what if I want to use this one in the future in a different instance, and I don't want to have like a gray background, right? Like, I don't have to create two. I can just have this original one and then reuse this one, reuse across. Like, it gives me that freedom. And again, every designer works different. This is just how I like to work. I like to break things down to atomic level, and this is based on a book that I've read called Atomic Design, or some information about it. I'll put some information in the description. But I really love that framing of things, right? You broke things down to like the most primitive level, like the simplest atomic design element, and then you start grouping together, which would be like a compound, right? And then compounds together make molecules, so this would be like a molecule, and then so on and so forth until you make pages, you make patterns, and you get more complex. Now let's go back to finish up this lesson. As I said, you have the title and description, you have container. These two themselves are copies of these two. Now I'm ready to select the whole thing and create a component of it as well. So you can do the Russian doll analogy of nesting items inside items. Again, remember, or the atoms. Our body, right, is made of cells. Cells are made of molecules. Molecules are made of compounds. Compounds are made of atoms. Now, just think of it that way whenever designing. It's going to be really helpful, especially if you're a beginner starting from scratch, which my audience for this channel is going to be. At least these videos are targeted for you. If you just picked up Figma, you don't know anything about it. If you're advanced, then this is probably just boring you. But think about it that way. It's going to really help you understand design elements and how to work better. And so, to wrap up, let me delete this. So now we have these three items, right? And when in my how I like to organize my files is I usually have a components in a section, and I'll just be like I don't know, image containers, because maybe I can have different shapes, different sizes for different screens. I like to separate things with arrows like this, and that's a little big. So now let's say this is this one, right? And this one, these two make up this one. this full one. Now I'm going to be using selected Command D, and I'm going to place it right now. I have to do it one by one because I didn't start it that way. Well, actually no, let's just delete all of these copies. Let's be scalable. We're going to put this inside the, well, now it turns into a tablet, but you know what we're going for with this pseudo low fidelity wireframe. Now we're gonna make a couple of copies, and again, these are all instances. Notice how they're purple, but there's no diamond next to them, right? So these three are different copies. In the layers panel, you're gonna see that whatever I name it, they're gonna inherit the name of that, which is okay, right? I can also rename this one to cont1, cont2. I mean, like I said, you can get as creative as you need to keep yourself organized. And let's, last but not least, just finish up our little navigation thing with some, you know, bottom navigation here. I normally like to do only up to 5 items if you're working on a mobile, not more than that. And let's do our layout, and let's do like a between each one. And we're gonna do fill, right? Nice and proportional. And these 3 image containers we added, let's do yet another auto layout, and we're gonna call them 3 image column wrapper. I like the word wrapper a lot. And now we change the spacing a little bit. Again, you can even get more granular, more auto layout. I love auto layout. I don't know if you tell by now, it's just so magical and so useful and flexible, right? I wish like Adobe Illustrator or Photoshop or other software that I use kind of inherited this concept. It's really revolutionary. Now let's do a final auto layout. I say final, but maybe I'll do more. 16 between each. And like I said, the spacing, it would depend on the design system you're using. The one I use just uses 16 very, very consistently across the board. So now we have final wrapper. And I know I said one last, but sorry guys, I love auto layout. So mobile wireframe or mobile page or whatever, right? So let's go back to the 3 columns because I want to make sure that they're filling the screen. There you go. Now everything should be really, really scalable. For some reason this is not working, but yeah, apologize. Let me just see what's going on here. Okay, I don't know what was going on, but let's just click into auto layout once again. Okay, that's what I was going for. Final. And now the magic is going to be, let's duplicate this one like 100 times, you know, as many times as we want, doesn't matter. And then we do a layout just to test. This is fine, I promise this is just for testing. Let's do 20 between each one. I just want to test and show you like what we're going for, how we'll be building up to the scalable design. But just imagine this being obviously not the same screen, right? Maybe some screens have more elements to them, you know, maybe some screens have like more text and you know, just what the focus here is that whenever this column of image is going to be applied, that it's going to, you know, you don't have to make the change in every screen, you only do it once. And let's go here and make it change to green, and you see now it's global. It's a global change. This is what you want. Now imagine this being an icon, right? So imagine I'm doing a bottom navigation, you change the bottom navigation items. You would have a master component for that, and you don't have to go into every one. You only do it once and it applies globally. And this is the magic of the master components, the reusable components, and the instances of such. And I hope that you learned something new in this lesson. Like I said, this one picks up on the knowledge of the previous one. So let me see something before I leave. There you go. You see? Nice, right? So this picks up on the previous lessons of like how to work with Figma, how to use the design panel, how to use the prototype panel to connect things, and how to use auto layout in the second chapter, second episode. And then this a third one, we went over how to go create reusable components that reusable and scalable. Just a mouth replacing that, make a change and it applies in 1,000 places, for 100 places as you need. Hopefully these lessons are really useful for you. If you're a beginner, I try to get as granular as possible, teach in a way that is fun, and also that actually doesn't use a lot of jargon and design terminology, because many of the people that are watching this video are probably brand new to design in general, and I don't want you to go back and forth like looking up words that I'm using. I'm trying to explain them in simplest examples for you to stay here. um yeah, while also being informative, right? So let me know what you think in the comment sections below. Please check out the other videos, subscribe for my channel for more content. I'm going to be finding time to keep building on my quality, and finding more time to go to get a microphone and improve the editing, the whole experience for you, my viewers. I really appreciate you watching. Until next time, bye.